everyone. Thank you for listening to my speech. So I want to start with a question. What are the roots of civilization? Most people would say business, science, government, or even art. To a man named Arthur Morgan, those roots are actually found in traits such as neighborliness, fair play, courage, tolerance, open-mindedness, and patience. I would even add independence and freedom. These are the characteristics, I believe, of the American small town. So this is what I'm going to talk about today, life in the American small town. What it's really like to live in a small town and why Americans should encourage this lifestyle. So living in Colorado Springs, I think it can be really easy to forget that rural towns even exist, and equally difficult to imagine what it would be like to live in one. But after today, I hope each of you realize that small communities are all around you and that you all participate in one every day, no matter how big your city is. Okay. So these are freedom and neighborliness, my pictures. So as far as my credibility goes, I grew up for the first 13 years of my life in a small town called Brookston, Indiana. Until I was about 13 years old. And Brookston is about 1,200 people in town, and then including all the people in their farming areas, it's about 3,000 people, almost 3,000 people. They like to say 3,000, but it's not quite. Okay, so what is a small town? So a small town, a lot of people think of two ideas. They think farm life, or they think, just a small little downtown area, which, really cute. Those are both true. They're both accurate. So a small town technically is 25,000 people or less. So that gives a big variety. Like I said, Brookston was only about 2,000 people on average. And you can have small towns that are up to 20,000, 25,000. So they add a lot of diversity. So they really are a lot more diverse than people would think. The smaller are more usually community-minded, and they tend to be a little more closed off, which is a downside to them. The larger ones are usually looking to grow, looking to become part of a larger city. So you'll usually find them outside of the capitals of different Midwestern states. Some of them, the bigger ones, are bigger just because they're overflow from larger cities. So in that case, you usually find more diversity as the population comes from larger cities. As far as farming and agriculture versus urban towns go, they vary mostly by region. So on the coastal sides, you're going to find more of the the urban towns, which are going to be closer to 15 to 20,000. But towards the Midwest is where you find just tons of towns that are about 15 to 5,000 people usually. So some of the common stereotypes of small towns are the boredom factor, as well as the conservative religious factor. Both of them, like I said before, they're both true, but also can't be just stereotypes for all small towns. There's a lot of diversity actually in small towns, and unfortunately a lot of the boredness can lead to what's commonly known as like the drug epidemic in small towns. Most people know that small towns are really well known for heroin addicts and marijuana, which here is legal. Most places that have small towns, it is not. Cocaine, opiates, that sort of thing. So that's one downside to small towns, but not true for all of them. Oh. So one thing the small towns are doing right, something that you won't find in most, is their sense of community and their sense of community involvement, leading to friendship, community involvement in government and community service, some things like that. So some people would say that the values found in small towns would be things like encouragement to take things slow, learning how to be patient, collaboration, working together as a small community. Most places will find that the companies that are doing the best right now came from small towns, and they come from mentors that came from small towns. Small towns usually have the better business practices that people like to take in those values and add them to the ones that they're doing now. Okay. So I would just like to end by saying that I hope that everybody thinks about what kinds of values people might usually find in small towns, whether they are stereotypes or whether you've been to a small town before and maybe have met some people from small towns, and think about how those kinds of values, like good business practices, inclusivity, open-mindedness, tolerance, patience, things like that can be implemented into the smaller communities